Welcome to MTN Outdoors.
Welcome back to another episode of MTN Outdoors. Weather plays such a big role in what we do around here. So I'm going to have two MTN meteorologists talk about the weather and a forecast for what the summer could be like. Thanks for watching MTN Outdoors. I'm Keith Grevenitz. Good thing these boots are waterproof.
The first tornado of the year in Montana touched down on Easter Sunday. Now check out this incredible photo captured on Highway 87 between Big Sandy and Box Elder over in Choteau County. This is what is known as a landspout. While still technically a tornado, landspouts form very differently from your more classic tornadoes. Traditional supercell tornadoes are formed from a powerful rotating updraft that extends to the surface. In the case of a landspout, the spinning air is already in place as daytime heating causes an area of low pressure to form near the surface. The spinning air near the surface eventually gets pulled up into the updraft. And this is most common along boundaries of colliding warm and cold air, something that happens frequently here in Montana. Landspouts happen so close to the surface that radar has a hard time actually picking them up. They often occur on a day when no severe weather is in the forecast and in a thunderstorm that is not warned. Like we saw on Sunday, the first report of a landspout occurring is often from an eyewitness, making it difficult to issue a warning. Now, fortunately, they are generally a weak EF0 or EF1, with winds clocking in at 65 to 110 miles an hour. That does not mean the threat shouldn't be taken seriously, as there have been recorded landspouts as strong as EF3 with winds of 150 miles an hour. Now, our severe weather season here in Montana starts to ramp up in May and June, so be sure to check in with your Storm Tracker weather team and Storm Tracker weather app for the most up-to-date warnings and information. Reporting in Great Falls, Eric Johnson, MTN News.
Summer officially begins on June 20th this year, and the latest forecast from NOAA's Climate Prediction Center is for a hot and dry summer. The seasonal temperature outlook shows all of the West, including Montana, with likely above average temperatures. The area with the most likely above average temperatures is across the Great Basin and Central Rockies. The precipitation outlook is not kind, as most of northwestern and north central United States, including Montana, are leaning towards below normal moisture. Observations in the Pacific Ocean show that La Nina weather pattern has ended. There is no La Nina, there is no El Nino. La Nina typically creates hot and dry summer weather across the middle of the country. 2001, 2006, and 2018 were other years where La Nina ended, but the Pacific Ocean was still slightly cooler than normal. 2001 and 2006 showed more variability in rainfall, but 2018 was actually above average for precipitation. Montana's fire season that year was well below average in the number of fires, acres burned, and cost to the state. La Nina and El Nino have an impact on the summer monsoon across the southwestern U.S. Because there is no La Nina or El Nino heading into the summer, the monsoon high is expected to be about normal. A stronger than normal monsoon high usually creates hotter than normal temperatures in Montana, with more dry thunderstorms producing lightning. While forecasts are leaning hotter and drier than normal, there are no strong indications of severe wildfire conditions at the moment. And now you're a little more weather-wise.
A drawing contest that took place last December has declared a statewide winner, and that winner is located here at Centerville School.
Our National Garden Club sponsors an annual Smokey Bear and Woodsy Owl poster contest.
The Centerville first grade students started drawing their Smokey the Bear and Woodsy the Owl themed posters back in December, submitting them in January. Now in April, the students from 1st through 5th made their way to the gym for a special surprise.
None of them know that Woodsy and Smokey are here. I asked them to attend this ceremony, and they'll have an opportunity to shake the hand of every student after they get their certificate.
Not only did the students get to meet Smokey the Bear and Woodsy the Owl, but they also got to congratulate the first grade contest winner, Aspen, as she accepted her plaque award.
Aspen's poster won first place for the state of Montana.
Well, I just drew Woodsy Owl and some animals.
How did you feel today when you figured out what you wanted?
Just good.
It's good.
Mostly glad.
And so to see these students just have an open canvas and create this art, and then to have someone selected, it was just really exciting for me personally and for the students here.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture, the National Forest Service, and the National Garden Club offers the contest to teach 1st through 5th grade students about the importance of fire prevention and environmental conservation. The participating students will have their artwork on display in Helena at the end of June.
So it's been very rewarding, and we are all so proud of Centerville.
Aspen's poster will be submitted to the regional contest, and if she wins, her family will be awarded with a trip to Washington, D.C. In Centerville, Brianna Juneau, MTN News.
We're used to getting most of our food from in here. But what about out here? There's plenty if you know where to look.
On the fact that I teach foraging, a lot of people be like, oh, I want to be with you in the apocalypse, like you could save us. And I've always laughed. I'm like, yeah, I'll survive like 6 days longer than everybody else. But now I'm like, hey, I could do this, actually.
At the start of April, Catherine Ron started a new diet.
Everything has to either be foraged or hunted in some fashion. We can eat the garden weeds, nothing that was cultivated for food.
She's taking part in the Wild Biome Project, a citizen science project with over 100 participants across the world. All are eating nothing but hunted and gathered food.
We do a bunch of blood work and gut testing, like hair analysis, nail clippings on the front end and the back end to gauge the impact of forage diets on our health.
The project was started by Monica Wilde in the UK, who ate nothing but foraged foods for a year. It aims to explore the health impacts of wild diets. Ron is one of only 2 Americans involved. She's trying it from April through June.
I eat a lot of stinging nettles. I'm going to be eating a lot of dandelions. There's a lot of goat's beard in my yard.
Like her, much of her food has Montana roots.
I grew up in Troy, Montana, like picking huckleberries like any Montana kid.
What started with hucks turned into learning about mushrooms, then weeds, then medicinal properties, and a lifelong passion. She went from farming to teaching foraging with her Missoula business, Wild Wanderers.
I was eating the weeds all the time, and I just couldn't understand why we were spending so much time and energy ripping these plants out of the ground.
Since the project started, it's changed how she thinks about food.
Coming into closer connection with my body and the land.
Foraging takes time, so does processing and cooking wild-caught foods. But she's getting creative.
I made myself a big pot of soup. And I sauteed some stinging nettles and some fried chicken mushrooms and chanterelles.
So far, she's been eating lots of last year's frozen catch. But as spring continues to bloom, foraging will get easier.
That's a pretty small stinging nettle.
She hopes others get into foraging too, but recommends lots of research.
Get to know the plants that will kill you.
Ron is excitedly awaiting the results of the Wild Biome Project. She believes it will back up the benefits she feels from foraging and inspire others.
It's such an empowering and fun thing to widen your lens to the landscape that's around us and feel more sovereignty over your food and your lifestyle and your health.
In Missoula, Caroline Weiss, MTN News.
You're watching MTN Outdoors. We'll be right back.
We now return to MTN Outdoors.
Welcome back to MTN Outdoors. As the weather changes, that means more people will be coming out and more animals. Also, there'll be more activities like fishing in places like this. Thanks for watching.
On Thursday, a federal district judge heard a slew of motions regarding the state of Montana's lawsuit against Yellowstone National Park over their 2024 bison management plan. Motions included requests from several tribes, including the Confederated Salish Kootenai tribes of the Flathead Reservation, to join the case, and a motion to stay the case until the Forest Service completes a 2020 court-ordered National Environmental Policy Act assessment regarding bison management. No decisions were immediately made by the judge. In December, the Gene Forte administration sued Yellowstone National Park over its new plan to increase bison populations and tolerance in and around the park. The 2024 Bison Management Plan builds on a plan from 25 years ago. and would see the goal of the bison herd managed at the size of an average of 5,000 animals. The National Park Service would maintain the herd size through transferring animals to tribal lands, allowing for tribal and state hunting outside the park, and capturing and processing the animals for meat. Governor Greg Gianforte has criticized the National Park Service for how it developed the plan, saying it was made without enough state consultation. Montana's lawsuit demands the park's bison herd be managed at less than 3,000 animals, about a 40% smaller population than the 2024 plan calls for, and that bison be vaccinated against brucellosis. The Gianforte administration's lawsuit alleges without those steps, it could have significant impacts on Montana cattle herds, specifically the risk of brucellosis infection. Yellowstone bison have been historically confined to the park, specifically due to the concern that they may spread the disease. However, to date there have not been a recorded case of brucellosis transmitted from bison to cattle. Although, there have been more than 20 documented cases of the disease spreading from elk to cattle and farm bison herds.
In Helena, John Riley, MTN News.
When visitors arrived at the park, they were greeted by someone who doesn't normally work the entrance gates. Park Superintendent Cam Shawley. He waved at visitors and spoke with a few. While he declined to do an on-camera interview with us, he did tell me that he's confident the park will be ready for the summer. Shawley says about 360 of a planned 390 seasonal rangers are already hired. He says the rest will have their contracts approved soon, and adds that number could even go up a bit. Shawley also told me that about 13 permanent employees took the fork-in-the-road offer and will be leaving. But he adds that 5 of those were already due to retire. As cars waited in line to get in the park, West Yellowstone Chamber of Commerce President Katrina Wise said there were more than 140 vehicles in line. That's about 20% more than on opening day a year ago. But the chamber is fielding questions about some photos posted on social media.
We've had a lot of weird concerns about the AI stuff that's been going on lately, with the weird pictures of all the bears on the road or the bisons running out. And so we just want to reiterate to people that those are all fake pictures.
All right.
Most of those waiting to get in that I spoke with were not concerned about cutbacks affecting their park experience.
No, sir, that doesn't concern me at all.
Everything's still going to be fine. Staffing has always been on the minimal side anyway. Here, they've always been underfunded, and staff is spread pretty thin.
Being in the park again, that's just, it's like a drought, and you're back in the park again.
Here at the Old Faithful Visitor Center, rangers are on duty, ready to answer questions and help out visitors. Now, running into Superintendent Shawley was fortuitous because my request to speak to a ranger about the opening was declined, and my questions about summer staffing were bumped up to Washington, D.C., but went unanswered. Now, Shawley tells me that he's optimistic about the coming season. He says, in fact, there will be more seasonal hires on duty this year than at any time in the last 5 years. At Old Faithful, in Yellowstone National Park, I'm John Shearer for MTN News.
The DEQ recently rejected a request from a conservation group to designate the Big Hole River as an impaired waterway after the group conducted a study that they said found elevated levels of nutrients in the water they believe could potentially be harmful to fish.
That development was very disappointing because we think the data are extremely clear in what they show.
As part of the Big Hole River Foundation, Wheeler has been conducting studies that he says shows nutrient pollution entering parts of the river and excesses of nitrogen and phosphorus, which he claims leads to algae blooms that can deplete oxygen levels.
When you see chronic excess nutrients in a watershed, that you're going to get big algae blooms. It's no surprise that, especially with low flows and hot water temperatures, those blooms are going to really take off, and then they really choke out a lot of the aquatic life.
In an April 14th email, the DEQ rejected the request, stating that the numeric data Wheeler provided did not meet the criteria to list portions of the river as impaired. The DEQ requires more photos and video of algae blooms and other data. Though disappointed, Wheeler said he will continue to provide data to the DEQ.
We may not be able to create more water, more snowpack, but the least we can do is ensure what we do have in the river is clean and supporting beneficial uses.
Stonefly Fly Shop co-owner Mark Markham in Butte depends on a healthy river for his business. Though trout numbers have been down in recent years, he says he's optimistic about recent trout studies on the Big Hole.
The fish numbers on the Big Hole are looking particularly well. They were up last year. They've already seen some early numbers that fish numbers are actually looking really good.
In Divide, John Amy, MTN News.
This is what heals. The horse is a gift from the Creator.
Everyone here has their own story.
I experienced loss early in my life, a lot of loss. I lost my dad from a car accident. We were in an accident when I was 7.
I did an adoption search and found my biological family. And my family are Choctaw from Oklahoma.
I lost my husband the last time I was here in November.
Experiences that have led to trauma.
The horses have really helped heal my heart.
It's that healing that is the goal of Gordon Birch and Dr. Corey Rich.
This experience, it forces an individual to get fully present and fully vulnerable.
Birch and Rich travel around the U.S., sharing their knowledge on the strides one can make in recovery when working with a horse.
You see this beautiful relationship with the participants and the horse.
When the Utah-based duo makes their way to Montana, they focus on helping tribal members.
To be able to work with the tribes is an ultimate honor.
This week, a 3-day training was hosted by the Rocky Mountain Tribal Leaders Behavioral Health Program.
Horses are part of our culture. We need to continue using them to help heal from trauma, past traumas, addictions.
6 tribes were represented during the training, and they will take the teachings back to their own communities.
Through alcohol and drugs, to keep them off the street, and to encourage them to work with a horse, how a horse takes things from a person.
Being vulnerable, bringing down your defense.
They're the prey animal, we're the predator. In order for them to feel safe, you have to demonstrate that you're trustworthy.
Learning to be open and how to heal.
When a horse comes up to you and leans its head into your chest, there is a connection there, and it does something to you.
I see a softness come over them. I see how they are inspired and hope that there is a way.
In Huntley, Haley Monaco, MTN News.
You're watching MTN Outdoors. Stay tuned for more Montana magic.
We now return to MTN Outdoors.
Well, peekaboo. As the weather gets changing here in Montana, people are going to be outside and they're going to be doing all kinds of things. Let's take a look at a couple of those activities.
Hey everyone, MTN's Luke Shelton here at Bulldog Memorial Stadium in Butte. And for Bozeman Gallatin senior Jack Murray, this right here, the discus pit, is like a second home to him.
And Murray's dominance in the event is unmistakable. At the Swede Dahlberg meet in Butte, he handily won by over 10 feet with a toss of 168 feet. But that's far from his personal best. At the 2024 State AA meet, Murray won the title and shattered the all-class record with a heave of 198 feet and 1 inch, breaking a mark that had stood for over 4 decades.
It was amazing. It was a great experience. It was kind of just the culmination of everything I had worked towards
for, like the last 4 or 5 years and kind of opened a lot of doors.
And if that sweater is any giveaway, one of those doors is leading him to Pocatello this fall, where he'll be joining the Bengals track and field program.
I'm really excited. I think it'll be amazing. It's a great opportunity. I love the area, so being able to continue that and do the sport that I love is a big deal to me.
Murray has a state discus championship, but he's also chasing a shot put title after placing 5th last season. He took first in shot put at the Dahlberg, and replicating that success at state is going to come down to fundamentals.
I think it's going to take a lot of just the drilling and doing the basics over and over to kind of get back in that tempo and put out some big marks. I'd love to get a double title. It'd be great to do both this year.
And there's another state title Murray is after this year, the Class AA Team Championship, as the Raptors pursue a three-peat.
So it'd be a 3rd in a row, which would be amazing to see, and I'd love to see the team succeed. And hopefully we can make something happen this year.
Murray set an all-class record in discus last season, and there was one final question I had to ask him.
Is the number 200 in your head?
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely the goal. I've worked a lot of different technical stuff in the off season, so now I'm just trying to get back in the rhythm of things and really put something together.
And the state AA track and field meet will take place next month in Kalispell. In Butte, Luke Shelton, MTN Sports.
Just in time for Easter, the Dirty Knees flower cart is filled with tulips, and the woman who grows them was inspired by a dark time to bring light to the community. Yvonne Laframboise rolls out her flower cart to the corner of Jocelyn and Cannon. The flowers that fill it are all grown here in Helena, in her basement.
I basically inherited it. My mother was a gardener and loved flowers. My great-grandmother loved flowers.
Laframboise is now passing her green thumb to her 8-year-old granddaughter Emma, who helps with the soil forcing process. Soil forcing essentially tricks plants or flowers to grow outside of their season, keeping them in cool, dark conditions for the first few weeks of their growth, and then bringing them into warm, bright conditions.
I actually learned it online, and I started 3 years ago to winter harvest tulips.
Flower cart started in the thick of the COVID-19 pandemic.
It was a really hard period of time,
when Laframboise needed an escape from her job as a healthcare worker.
The garden was just a way for me to release, be with the birds, the bugs, the family.
Now, 5 years after it began, the flower cart has held thousands of flowers purchased by strangers and neighbors. It is not staffed, and Laframboise relies on the honesty of people to pay for what they take. Now, while it depends on the weather, Laframboise expects the cart to be out next in late May or June. In Helena, I'm Allie Kaiser, MTN News.